So, yeah, it came. Grimcoven is here. Awaken Realms and boss battling. Let's go. You want to see what's inside? You want to know some impressions? Let's talk. This box is surprisingly heavy for a core game, just so you know. And truth be told, the box that all this stuff came in was one of the biggest boxes I've received all year. Like, Awaken Realms puts a huge bow around it to make sure it gets to you. So I always like to give them kudos on the shipping side of things. I'm not really worried about stuff getting damaged to me for the most part. And looking at this cover on the top of this box right now, this artwork was originally what enthralled me and enraptured me as to make it, I believe, most of the way through 2024 as my most anticipated crowdfunding game. The other tricky part of this, though, was that you had a lot of people talking about the prototype afterwards that were sort of mixed opinions on, what it was offering. Variability-wise, difficulty-wise, I think was the real concern overarchingly. So what do we have in store as a final product now? And we have a large hex-based grid system. It worries me a little bit when I see these numbers in the corner of having to match them, because I just look at it and I go, okay, I can do that. I can do the tile situation thing. And a small side note here as well, this is not miniatures that you're looking at. This is the picture of where the miniatures go, which was one of my biggest criticisms for Andromeda's Edge, and that horribly crappy insert that was associated with that of how to get it everything where it needed to be. So as weird as this sounds, I really do appreciate this, because otherwise, if you're like me, you can't always remember, and the molds underneath don't really tell you sometimes. You're wondering where the rule book is. The rule book is separate, because I was reading that earlier. Grief bounds, core box grief bounds, so keeping track. After winning all the scenarios, go to the epilogue. Okay, so you can keep track of things. That's just a little thing on the top. And then we get to the real meat of it. The Convergence Hunt book. Okay, so scenario 1, setup seems relatively straightforward when I'm looking at those hexes. Prologue, how do you feel about having some narrative? And I like the fact that it's not a whole lot, right? Like, make it the boss battler, let me boss battle. If I want to narrative, well, you can listen to my channel more than anything else. Gives you, different narrative responses in victory and defeat, but are there actual consequences of the battles? And I'm not sure necessarily I see anything, at least on the surface of this. So then we get to the Devourer Hunt book and the Swarm Mistress, Graveyard Dragon. Oh, that's the freaking looking cool dragon that we were seeing on this side of things, right? That is this guy right here. That's pretty cool. Okay, we're going to flip open that one just for the hell of it. So, okay. And again, tile setup relatively straightforward. You've got them colored based on what numbers they are too. So I like that. Getting through these scenarios, and again, boss battling over a situational setup. Boss battling over a time period. So Undead General Hunt book. Now we get into the cool stuff here. Death Jester. I actually really like that art of that. So Technomancer. Okay, I like this. So what do we got here? Convergence. Let's open this up and see what we got. Convergence. And these are all, okay, Swarm Mistress, Convergence. So what you're going to be utilizing on the scenarios. You don't want to see this part. We already kind of glanced at this. Ooh, we got the Graveyard Dragon we were just talking about. So you've got the little bit of the AI system, and you've got the player boards here. And that's interesting. I wasn't expecting this. We've already got the ingrained health trackers over here, as well as the straight up heroes or people that you can use on their corrupted as well as their normal side. So I like how it's integrated already. Again, I went into this without a whole lot of knowledge of what it was going to be looking like. Desiccated thing to keep it dry. Let's see what else we got here in terms of player characters. Let's see. Duality. We kind of saw a few of those cards there. Gunslinger. Okay, you know who I'm going to be. Keeper. What the deuce is that? Holy freaking heck. Never mind. I guess we're going Keeper instead of Gunslinger. Ooh, did we lose one there, or we just have an extra player board here? Okay, we'll see where that goes. Done with the individual ones, and then we have sort of your upkeep board as well. So I don't mind this. I think that the play mats might be nicer in this sense, but I also wonder, again, is it just going to take up more space on the table than it's actually going to be helpful? That's always my concern with boards like this, go 50-50 on them, because some of them can be really useful in terms of organization, and some of them just seem to get in the way, if you know what I mean. And now we get to the miniatures, and these are all upside down. So let's turn this around so you can kind of see, so I don't have to literally turn everyone over. But this is kind of cool. Okay, that's a huge tray right there. So we'll get that out of the way, but this is what we got going on here with these guys. So if we can get this thing to focus here, how do you feel about that? Again, Awaken Realms puts out some of the best miniatures on the miniature market. Anyway, so I said it. I can't help myself sometimes in these videos. But let's see what we got going on here with this guy. Oh gosh, I'm so worried about taking these things out and kind of, you know, damaging them just by taking them out. But, okay. I wasn't even sure which way this was going to stand, but it stands like this apparently. So like this is the front of it right here facing you. And okay, I'm not even sure how to get that one back in there. That's going to be tricky. Okay, that's probably the hardest thing. I actually really, really like the fact that, and some people may not, especially the painters, that these are colored. I really like that. The fact that I don't need to color them. Now, I'm not sure about the details on this blue guy that I just kind of picked up for you. That details aren't as good as I would hope there. And these details are fine-ish if you're looking, but I mean, there's kind of hard to tell what's kind of going on there as well. So, I don't know. Again, I don't really care too much. Give me something I can distinguish. Give me something that's, you know, usable in that way, and we'll see where it goes. But that's all the top shelf ones. You want to see the big ones, though. Let's go down to the bottom layer. And, oh my, there is the big guy. And so we have all the stuff that we saw. We got the dice. We got the cards. Tons and tons and tons of cards, by the way. And so we'll talk about those and have many more thoughts on those as a whole. But you don't want to hear about the cards. You want to see this big freaking guy, if I can get him out without... Gosh, you know what would suck? Just to, like, break him just as I'm opening it up, right? It gets, like, thousands of miles here, and then it gets broken at the last second. Okay. That's just kind of grotesque. Okay, just a lot of spikes on all of these things that kind of take away the details and the cool features that could be on them. And again, I don't mind it, but it's kind of like, okay, why so many spiky things that just kind of make it look, you know, kind of hard to distinguish from other pieces and other parts in general. So that'd be my only question. So I'm not a miniature person as a whole, so you guys can tell me what you think in the comment section down below and whether or not I'm actually going to break this at some point. Let's see, a little bat demon dude there. Okay, the dice that you're familiar with. Ooh, big dice. We'll pull out these big dice, these big chonkers. These are relatively large, and I kind of like them. Hits of some type. Then we start to get some of the player cards here as well. You got the Hunter Renegades, the Alchemist, so just different things all across the board that you're going to be doing. So this is the Renegade Hunter. This is an expansion card here, and it's just a character card that you're going to be incorporating. But I went and got a knife from the kitchen again to open some of this stuff up so you can see some of the cards. And a bunch of these decks are like the evolution decks of the individual characters. And so you can just kind of see, okay, this is kind of what's going on. Hunter Weapon Death Jester. Okay, Hunter Armor Death Jester. So I'm assuming it's almost like a KDM situation that you can get some armor that way. Again, like I went into this not really paying attention afterwards after the campaign. I'm one of those people that once the campaign is over, like, peace out, like, we'll see it when it arrives on my door more than anything else. So, ooh, lots of different stuff though here. Electric Pike, Armor of Light, Assault Armor. So every single one of these is unique, and I wasn't really expecting that either. And it doesn't appear that there's too much iconography. There's not too much going on in the cards. So this actually looks relatively, well, not engaging, but relatively accessible. And that's kind of nice. I like seeing this. And like I said, each of these characters has one of these decks. So these are all asymmetric upgrades uniques, and you can see just for the sheer plethora of each individual enhancement that there's multiple options. Okay, I am actually more impressed than I was expecting. I'm not going to open up all these. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to, spoiler them all. But here you go. Here's another Gunslinger deck. Here is the Mannequin deck. We have a help card, Death Jester. There's some other cards in there as well, too. And then we've got diseases. We've got attacks that we're going to be dealing with. Again, across the board, just tons and tons of cards, but not actually as many as I was expecting. Even with something like Tamashi, which I felt like had a ton more as well. So, final attack from the Death Jesters, the Gunslingers, the Devourer, the Undead General. So, you're getting all of these that you can kind of play through And again, more content than I was expecting. At the same time, for an Awaken Realms project, there's actually less here total. And I think this is going to be relatively easy to put back in the box, which is really crazy, especially after I punch out the cardboard. So the adaptive bat, and then just corruption, because, you know, you saw in the player characters here that there's going to be corruption. You have to flip them over. So take that for what you will. But I did open these other set of cards too. And so you can start to see Alchemist, Warlock, Alicia the Twisted, right? Like, which one of these is not like the other? Regular name. What the deuce? Bellfrog, Frantic Toad, Crockholm. So sort of boss minion sort of situation we've got going on here too. So, okay, I'm intrigued. And then we've got your little play cards, so you can remember how to actually play the game with your little everything in front of you need to know. So then the question is, after the core box, where do we actually go? Because we've got Forgotten Entities here, we've got Hunters, and we've got Personal Stories. So I would assume they're relatively explanatory. You know, this is like the individualized, more content for each of the characters like we saw with the other one, ISS Vanguard. I'm assuming this is as you see, as you get, right? Hunters expansion, going to give me more good guys. Forgotten Entities going to give me more bad guys. So let's take a look at Forgotten Entities here as a second. We'll push the other two off to the side, and we'll kind of see what we've got going on underneath here. So, okay, Striga, and these are a little bit, there's a little bent there to start off with, huh? Okay, getting a little shoved in there, a little bit of a tight fit. Chimera, okay, yeah. Another one of those weird English pronunciations, like when you're trying to teach your kids English and you're like, well, actually, the CHI in this place is actually Chi instead of, yeah, gosh, English language. Horrible. Forgotten Entities, so components, overview, new elites, new events, new environments, new secrets, new grief bound. So, okay, models and standees, how to implement it, no rules or components that are new as a whole. So you just basically add it as a whole. So that's a cool expansion because you're not having to worry about just adding complexity. You're just giving more variability in that sense. So here are some of your scenario-based guys. Here are, again, some of the punching of the tokens. We'll actually punch this one because why the hell not? And, oh, there's another one. How many are there? Only two? We can do two on camera. Haha, sucker, toss that one. No cameras or games were hurt in the making of this video. So you just incorporate it all. It's just different numbered and different lettered, and it all just goes to the side. We scroll it back here. A little tracker right here to keep track of things. That's fine. And then Asylum Madman. So these are your elites and your minions. And then we get down to the miniatures here. Let's see what this actually looks like. I half hate taking these out because I'm going to break them, but Chimera. Okay, this thing is actually cooler. It has more details than the other ones from the bigger box in the, dragon at least. So I actually like that one more than almost any of the bosses in the core box, just of the ones we very quickly looked at. Although, again, putting it back in here is hella difficult. And then, okay, kind of a weird Striga thing with weird red wings. Okay, I'll bite. There you go. Minion guy is not too bad, though. Minion guy seems to have a little bit more detail as well. So that's nice. And then just more cards, right? We talked about the cards that you're integrating. Attacks, stages, and secrets. That was the one deck I didn't really show you. There was a secret deck at the end there. You're at the end of the other big box too. So there you go. So then let's pull over here, Hunter's Expansion, and we are going to have two new Hunters. And they are the twins, the Pretender Twins, and the Pretender Clockwork Giant. Well, you know when I said I was going to play those other characters first? Screw it. I might just throw these in there as well. Clockwork Giant, Twins, Assassin, Shadow, Corrupted Twins, Shadow and Poison mechanics, playstyle as an offensive tank juggernaut situation. Okay. Well, these might just be incorporated right away like they said, so we'll see. We'll just, screw it. Cardboard, you're out of there. I have enough to punch with the other stuff, and how many hours of my life do I lose punching cardboard in other games? So we'll just do it easy that way. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Peace out. See you later, cardboard. Does anyone else do that when they do their unboxings? No, people probably have already unboxed all this stuff, and then they're just actually reboxing to unbox again. I'm not one of those people. So you're just getting more of the cool stuff that we talked about with the original box there in the core setting of all the upgrade cards, the evolution, and stages that go along with them. And let's take a look at these miniatures. I actually like these better than some of the core ones. Got more detail on it, just not as much spiky stuff. You can actually see the gears in his arm. So that's kind of cool. Again, I like the redness. That's the corruption. Although, is this supposed to be fire? Is this like evil red eels? You can't really tell. It's very delicate though, just by holding it, I'll tell you. So, and then one of the twins right there as well. That's cool. I like that chain. That chain actually looks really good. I don't usually like things floating around, but it looks really good. And here's the Corrupted. So Corrupted's kind of weird too, like the regular one. But that's that expansion. You know what? Screw it. Let's just open up personal stories here and see what we got as well without even moving this one out of the way. So we have a big piece of styrofoam in here, making it impossible to get out. But if we get that out of the way, we have the books. The books of goodness. So personal stories here. Component overview. 8 storybooks, 24 standard cards, 8 bookmarks. You get these books for each hunter, and they have locked components that you get to unlock as you go through their stories. So is there anything else in this little rules packet? Nope, just the explanation of some of them, and then the list of unlockables right there. And then it just gives you all of these unlockables. So make it through the story, which, you know what? I like it. As I said earlier in the video, I don't need the narrative. But if you're going to give me a little gameplay content that's directly linked to this, I'll take it. I'll take it. And then here are the cards that are just going to be unlocked with it as well. So just a little bit of something extra. Part of me, actually, as I'm trying to put this away, wants to just throw all of the stories as well as the expansion guys in here because, I mean, this would easily fit in this box too. So, I mean, I could, but we'll keep it separate because, you know, that's what cool kids do. Then we just have the little tiny companions box here as well, and this is just giving a few extra companion miniatures. So your animal companions: cat, sheep, rat, lizard, owl, dog. It sounds like when you're trying to read one of those kids books really fast, if you've ever seen that. You know, the little blue truck goes beep, beep, beep. Anyway, no, most of you guys aren't. The overlap for people who know Little Blue Truck and Grimcoven is an incredibly small Venn diagram. But if you know that, hit me up in the comment section down below. These are the expansion dice, or the extra dice as well. So, okay, just shields and swords and coolness. Comes with a nice bag. They feel nice. Woo, look at those chonkers. That's kind of grotesque, though. Like, it's a little bit hard to see on the actual dice face when you're close up. It's just not as distinguished. Like, I wish the color was either more muted or the center was more highlighted. But they've all got, like, the bony type feel. Phrasing. Okay, but you know what I'm saying, and it just upgrades all the ones that we saw in the core box, essentially. Then we have the art book, because art book included. So, yeah, I mentioned I like the art, so that shouldn't really be a surprise there. Gives a little bit of lore to go along with it, as you can see. And then, you know what, let's flip back here this way. Let's see what else we got floating in the back here. Okay, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Minions are former convicts. Okay, I don't care. That's a minion? Nobody wants to talk about the minions. Okay, bosses, bad stuff lore. Again, those look kind of cool when they're painted. That does look really cool as the animals that I didn't show you, because no one wants to see the small tiny animals, right? Last but not least, as I move the knife out of the way and try not to stab myself on camera, is we have the acrylic pack. Gosh, I like the fact that this is just a slide open instead of one of those top open ones, like one of these. These I don't like these. So just straight up acrylics. All of the tokens that we showed you in the boxes, you just get acrylic versions of them. So those, can't really tell those shapes though. It's not really a great color for what it is of distinguishing. And then just the tokens that you'll be dealing with, trackers of your various sorts, and all of your small minutia that will go along with it as well. So this is probably the least impressive box overall. Again, just because it looks more like to me just as something that I would have seen off of an Etsy 3D printed shop rather than like super high quality deluxeifications, if you will. I don't know what this is. This is like a pair of like angel wings or something. It's just still in wrap actually, so maybe it is. But yeah, we'll see how this integrates and whether or not these are useful. Like little metal sword pieces right there in addition. So there you go. That's Grimcoven. What do you think? I'm actually more impressed than I expected in terms of looking through the rulebook and the core components and the upgrades. If it plays as accessible as it looks right now, you know what? It might surpass my expectations, because I'm also going into this one with a low bar, if you will, just in terms of how it's going to fit for me. Sometimes that's the most exciting thing, though, of picking out games and finding that they exceed your expectations because you didn't even know you were going to love them in the first place. That's all I got. Stay classy. Peace out.